Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. Hey, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Okay, so today on today's episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast, we're going to talk about the parts of your day that come before copywriting and that hopefully get you ready to write copy. So what we're talking about today is the concept of morning rituals. Kate, do you have a morning ritual right now?
You know, I try to have a morning ritual, but like everyone, some days are better than others, and building new habits and breaking habits that are terrible it's a process. So yes, I will say yes, I have a morning ritual in that I get up every morning. That's my ritual. Just kidding. But I'm always constantly looking for ways to improve the process and pay more attention to what is arguably super important for me to sit down on my computer and actually be able to get going.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, there are kind of two parts of it. There is the actual moment from when I get up to when I'm ready to get down to work, what the actual pre-work morning entails. But for me too, and maybe this sounds a little crazy, when I sit down to my desk, there are like things that I do. It's almost like
Ooh.
it's a little bit it's a little bit ritualistic, but it's almost a little superstitious in a way because it's like how the baseball players have
Say the
to.
baseball, their gloves.
Yeah,
And
the
then
glove and get tied this way.
yeah.
But I'll sit down and I'll read, like, there's a love letters column on Boston.com, and I'll read that. It's fascinating because it takes like 2 minutes, and then I'll check my horoscope on like 3 different sites, which I forget the second that I finish reading it. Immediately forget. There's no point to me doing this except that it's like I do this, then I do
Great.
this, then I do this, and when I've done that, then I begin work.
Yeah. I agree. I need a ramp up time. And so usually I go through my inbox usually, and it's mostly the junk mail, spam / promotional stuff, not work email.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes check the New York Times, and good 15, maybe 30 minutes that just getting started at the computer with tasks that I can easily kind of check off the list that make me feel like, oh yeah, I did this. Now I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's like it's building up momentum. And we talk about how you have to have your one big task for the day, right? And that if you spend your entire morning doing the tiny little tasks, then if you're a morning person like I am, and like you are, if you spend your morning doing all the tiny little tasks, you get to the afternoon and your big task and be like, I don't have anything left for it. But I, to your point, it can be a good way to start like getting I always think about flywheels, about like, because I used to teach spinning, but you kind of put in a little bit of effort to get it going with those little tasks that you're like, okay, I can send that email, I can cross that off my list. So if you can do 2 or 3 of those, that can be enough to be like, okay, I'm sitting down and I'm working, which is quite frankly a lot more productive than reading 3 horoscopes on 3 different websites that you don't remember anyway.
And
And
what's going to happen to you today? Are you lucky in money, lucky in love?
I don't know,
What's
Kate.
happening?
I don't know. I don't remember.
How can you live your life? I'm kidding.
Exactly. I love that. And really, depending on what your day is too, or what you like to do, it could be something like, it could be check your email could be an email, like check your email, whatever. Or it could be, check your invoice tracking document and see if there's anything outstanding. That could be like, all right, step 1, I do that at the beginning of every day. Step 2, your pitching tracking, see, okay, are there any follow-ups that need to go out today or anything like that? And that could be step 2, and then step 3. But I think that it can be very helpful to train ourselves to do the same thing every day, because then your brain goes, okay, and now I'm working, versus trying to sit down and be like, okay, now write copy. Yeah, I personally have a very hard time with that.
The one thing I try to shake up in terms of routine, just so it doesn't get boring, because I think, so that's pretty standard. My sit down at the desk and kind of do these little tasks to get going is pretty standard every day. But before that, kind of the wake up time till that moment that they go to my office and sit down at my computer on usually Mondays and Fridays. Again, it doesn't always happen today. It didn't happen. Today's a Friday and I did not get up in time. We had a major hailstorm, like an inch of hail so threw me off my game this morning. And everyone knows certain things happen. So I woke up an hour earlier than I normally do. But anyway, Mondays and Fridays, I like to get up and go to the local coffee shop for coffee. So I call it, and I think I wrote about this in a blog post on Filthy Rich Writer at some point, but doing a commute, because I work from home right now. Most people are working from home right now, but I have for years and years and years and years. And there's something nice, at least for me, about getting outside of the house. And in this case, I have to drive to the coffee shop. So drive to the coffee shop. Sometimes I park a little further away, walk to it, get my coffee, walk back, drive home. And that process makes me feel like awake and alive, because otherwise I'm just going from down. Lucky I have 2 floors right now. I'm about to move to a place that is, the size of a closet. So the stairs being my commute isn't enough for me to feel like to switch into work mode necessarily. So getting outside that house is like, ooh, yeah, okay, I'm awake.
I love that. To train your brain that you're like, okay, this is the transition. It's actually Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, who is just fantastic. This woman is smart as anything, and also just seems like a really genuinely cool person. I follow her on Instagram. We're basically best friends, but
she'll be on the podcast.
Yeah, right. We'll work on that. But she actually, her company is really, really close to where she lives. Like, it's walkable, if I'm remembering the story correctly. It's walkable to where she lives. But every morning she gets in her car and drives for a half hour. And she's doing well for herself, so it's probably an electric car. But gets out and drives for a half hour for a quote unquote commute. And that's what she said. She said, we all laugh and we call it my commute, but that's her time to do kind of her thinking about what her day is going to be, and a little bit of planning and that kind of thing. I love that idea of having some kind of commute, of being able to, and it could be, if you don't live, if you can't drive somewhere, if you don't have a car, it could be, a walk around the block. Yeah.
Which is another, sometimes I do, if it's really nice out, which I'm lucky to live in an area right now where I feel like it's summer already and it's only May. But I'll do some laps around our little neighborhood, and it's not a huge walk, but again, I feel like that fresh air and just getting out there is really helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure you don't miss any tips, tools, or tactics for copywriters by clicking subscribe right now. And of course, you can always find us over at filthyricwriter.com. We'll see you next time.